Hi, I'm Yelena and this is Iceland News Review, where we bring you the top stories from Iceland. This week we'll be talking about the recently ended eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula, Iceland's new regulations on e-scooters, and a growing population of frogs here in the municipality of Garðabær. So firstly, the newly ended eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula that began on May 29th is officially over after 24 days of activity. The eruption crossed some roads on the Reykjanes Peninsula, such as leading into the evacuated town of Grindavík, and it also crossed a couple of protective earthen barriers or berms that were built to protect Svartsengi power station as well as the Blue Lagoon. Now, workers toiled around the clock to build additional berms as well as cooling down the lava with water being sprayed from fire trucks. And these efforts were successful in preventing the lava from reaching Svartsengi power station, which brings power as well as hot water to some 30,000 residents on the Reykjanes Peninsula. So while this current eruption has ended, we are now expecting further eruptions in the area, according to experts. However, these eruptions are very localized and have not affected travel to and from Iceland and are not expected to do so. Last Sunday, a group of locals gathered in Alþingi, Iceland's parliament square, to protest the pending deportation of Yazan Tamimi, an 11-year-old Palestinian boy who uses a wheelchair and has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The group of protesters gathered in support of Yazan, who arrived in Iceland around 1 year ago with his family. The family traveled through Spain on their way here, and Icelandic authorities plan to deport them back to Spain, where they have never resided. Many people with Duchenne, as well as loved ones of those who have Duchenne here locally in Iceland, were present at the protest, including Iceland's foremost expert on the illness, Guðjón Reykdal Óskarsson, who said that such a deportation would have a negative impact on Yazan's health. Yazan's father and his uncle were present at the protest, but Yazan himself was hospitalized at the time. His supporters have stated that the pending deportation has had a strong negative impact on his mental as well as his physical health. Icelandic publishing company Árvakur was the target of a cyber attack last week. On Sunday, their website mbl.is as well as radio station K100 were down for several hours. Now both are operational once again, but mbl.is, the news station, has been closed to international traffic. Árvakur representatives have confirmed that Akira, a Russian hacker group, was behind the attack. The group appears to have entered the computer systems of the company some days before they became aware of the attack, and it's not known how they managed to do so. Now, Akira has encrypted Árvakur's data, and Árvakur would not confirm whether they have requested a ransom amount in order to de-encrypt the data. However, they have stated that they would not pay such an amount under any circumstances. Driving an electric scooter under the influence of alcohol is now a punishable offense in Iceland. Alþingi, the country's parliament, passed new regulations, amendments to the Traffic Act, which put this into effect. So while previously e-scooters were under the same category as bicycles, they have now been put in a newly created category for smaller motorized vehicles. So the blood alcohol level limit for driving an e-scooter is the same as it is for motor vehicles such as cars, 0.5 promille, and the breathalyzer limit is 0.25 promille. There are also new regulations including an age limit on e-scooter usage, so users have to be at least 13 years of age, and up until the age of 16, users are required to have a helmet while they're operating e-scooters. E-scooters have become more and more prolific in the capital area and across Iceland, especially after 2019, when companies Hop and Zolo started a ride-sharing service with e-scooters. Now, many users point out that infrastructure has been slow to adapt to the new vehicles, and accidents may be at times caused by uneven road surfaces and a lack of dedicated infrastructure for the vehicles. Minister of Education and Children, Ásmundur Einar Daðason, and Minister of Justice, Guðrún Hafsteinsdóttir, announced at a press conference this week a new action plan to target violence among children and youth in Iceland. Now, the report accompanying the plan outlined growing concern with violence among children and youth, including bullying, sexual assault, as well as physical violence. The action plan includes 14 points, and among these points are increased coordination between various agencies for children and youth, shortening of waiting lists, as well as increased parental involvement in order to help tackle these increased issues of violence among children. Iceland's parliament has approved amendments to the Artist Salary Fund for the first time in 15 years. Now, artists in Iceland, whether they're musicians, writers, performing artists, designers, they can apply to a specific fund where they can get paid a salary regularly every month for their work. Now, applications open once a year, and the salaries are granted for periods from 2 months up to 12 months at a time. Now, as these months available were previously 1,600, they will be increased to 2,000 and more over the next 4 years. And there are 2 specific additions to the fund as well. One addition includes a specific fund for artists 67 years of age and over, and another new fund for screenwriters has been formed as well. Now, this Artist Salary Fund is under the auspices of the Ministry of Culture and Business Affairs, and Minister Lilja Alfreðsdóttir, when she was discussing the changes, said that it was very important for Iceland's self-image as well as its image abroad to support artists working here in the country. And she also pointed out that artists and their work are not only an investment, but eventually contribute to the revenue of the country as well. Iceland has passed legislation establishing a Human Rights Institute. Now, this institute will function separately from the government. It will be completely independent, and it will have extensive supervisory powers. Iceland has been urged repeatedly in recent years to establish such an institute in order to comply with United Nations regulations as well as its international commitments. Now, this institute will have a 5-member board as well as a 3-member advisory committee, staff including disability rights lawyers, and it will essentially function to ensure that the Icelandic government is fulfilling its obligations not only to its own laws but also to international agreements that it is a party to. So these international agreements include things like the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, as well as the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Now, this institution will begin operating next year, and members on its board will be appointed from existing human rights organizations in Iceland, including the Icelandic divisions of the Red Cross, Save the Children, and as well as the International Queer Association of Iceland and other organizations that impact human rights and work on human rights issues here in Iceland. Even on a sunny day like today, Iceland's climate is hardly hospitable to cold-blooded amphibians. However, a population of frogs seems to have established itself here in the municipality of Garðabær in the capital area near Reykjavik. So the frogs were first spotted here in 2017, here in the street of Melás, and they were reported on again in 2019 by Icelandic media. Now, the pictures that emerged at the time showed many frogs, but hardly the size of a coin, quite small. And the pictures of frogs spotted this year show that they are significantly larger in size. Now, nobody knows where the frogs came from or how they managed to survive the winters here, although some types of frogs do hibernate underwater throughout the winter. There's plenty of green space here in Melaus and around the street, as well as a pond that some residents believe the frogs are coming from. Those are all our stories for today. Thanks for joining us on Iceland News Review. For more news coverage, you can go to our website, icelandreview.com.